Street Fighter 6 being recently announced, and with it coming out next year, I want to talk about the game that it seems to be taking a lot of cues from. And that game is its predecessor, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. You may be wondering why I would even want to talk about this game in the first place. It's over 20 years old, so people barely even play it, right? Wrong. There is still a very healthy community of people playing this game online and even in tournaments around the world. So why do people still gravitate towards this game? Well, it keeps people coming back. Now I've been playing this game for about 3 years now. I wasn't around to play it during its heyday, but after seeing all the crazy hype shit that you can do during the game, I really wanted to give it a try. I found a way to boot up the game, and I haven't looked back since. This game is amazing, and the community around the game is amazing too, and that's what I really want to talk about in this video. So sit back, relax, as I explain why you should play Third Strike today. Street Fighter 3 Third Strike was released on May 12, 1999, to mixed reviews at best. It was the third iteration of Street Fighter 3, which wasn't looked at too fondly by players at the time. It was so different from all the other Street Fighters, with different mechanics and characters, that it really alienated players at first. But with the rise of the internet and video sharing, people were seeing all of the crazy things you can do in the game, from combos to utilizing the parry system. People really started to gravitate towards the game after that. It was played in tournaments all over the world and at EVO, which really showcased what the game was actually like. Then, EVO Moment 37 happened, and that opened the floodgates of people wanting to play the game. Ever since then, Third Strike has been considered one of the greatest fighting games of all time, if not the greatest. But that tells you how the game got popular in the first place. But what about today? What drives people to still want to play this game today? Well, the answer is pretty simple. The game is fucking great. Everything about this game has been made with the utmost care. To the style, the gameplay, the sprites, the banging soundtrack, all of these things draw people to this game over 20 years later, is what drew me to the game at least. So I'm going to break down this video into two sections. First, I'm going to talk about the game itself. I'll try my best to explain why this game is considered one of the greatest fighting games ever. And then, I'll talk about the community behind the game, which I personally think is just as important as to why people are still playing. But first, let's get started with the gameplay. First off, the game is just extremely satisfying to play. Hitting buttons and doing combos just looks super cool with all the hit sparks and weighty animations. Third Strike is one of the heaviest Street Fighter games, especially compared to the Alpha series where the characters just feel paper thin. Here, every animation has a feeling of weight and impact, and it leads to the game to just feel great to play. How the game is stylized gives it a unique visual flair that isn't in a lot of other fighting games. The hip-hop influences from the graffiti on multiple stages, the incredible soundtrack that has so many hip-hop elements in it, from having an actual rapper do the main theme, character select theme, and just straight up be the announcer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sprites that made the characters look almost the best they've ever looked. That CP3 arcade board was a real gem that allowed for detailed and smooth animations that the game has. Just everything about how the game looks just as street as it says in the name Street Fighter. This is even something that Capcom is using again in Street Fighter 6, which I personally think is a great call for them to make. Another thing that I really like is the amount of freedom that you have to use different moves together to make combos or just unique situations. Now I'm a Ken main. He's the character that I use the most. I have used Yun and Ryu a bit in the past, but Ken is my guy. Ken in this game has so many combos and links that you can just try something out at random and it'll probably work. Third Strike has this mechanic called target combos, where if you press a series of buttons one after the other, you get a combo. Most target combos you can link into special moves and supers. Characters like Makoto, Akuma, and especially Ken use these to get great damage. Almost every character in this game has a combo link into super, so you can really just pick about anybody and just try things out for yourself. You're bound to run into a combo where you'll say, wait, I can do that? It's one of the things that keeps people coming back. Just experimenting with different moves and seeing what happens. And when you do something that works, that makes it all the more satisfying. The skill ceiling in this game is stupid high, and that's what leads to cool moments like EVO Moment 37 in the first place. Something that seemed impossible was actually possible if you were skilled enough. Though while I may never get to see the ceiling to begin with, the fact that the game allows for this, in my opinion, is very special, and something that I wish more fighting games today would do. Speaking of EVO Moment 37, let's talk about the parry system. In Third Strike, if you tap forward before you get hit, whether that be a physical hit or a projectile, you can parry and take no damage, and in most cases have frame advantage, meaning that you can use the move faster than your opponent can. This system also adds to the skill ceiling point that I just made. Any character can do it, And if you're skilled enough, you can parry entire combos or super just like with Evil Moment 37. I think the parry system is so cool. It just looks cool to parry a projectile or your opponent's poke move. It really adds to what I was saying before with this game being satisfying to play. Seriously, just pulling off one parry that you didn't do on accident just makes me feel like the coolest person in the room. I also like it because it's a risk reward mechanic. If you mess up a parry, you can get hit with a combo or a super and lose the match. But if you're successful, you take no damage and you can most likely do your own combo if you're close enough to your opponent. It's also a mechanic that Capcom is putting back into Street Fighter 6, albeit it's a little bit different this time. But the fact that it's a universal mechanic again really goes to show how popular it was in the first place. I want to talk about the decision making that is in this game. Now what do I mean by decision making? In fighting games, you usually have many options to approach your opponent and do damage to them. Your decisions and how you use these options is what leads you to either win or lose that match. Since you have so many options in Third Strike depending on your character, your decision making has to be even faster just to keep up. Now Third Strike isn't the fastest fighting game around. It's not Marvel 2, but it's pretty damn fast because of the amount of decisions you have to make during the moment-to-moment gameplay. If I'm playing Ken for example, my options to approach are pretty high. I can low forward, I can low medium punch, I can standing heavy kick, I can dash in and do target combo if my opponent is off guard, but my opponent has just as many different options that they're making, leading the game to feel fast paced. This is where the fun lies in this game, and in fighting games in general. What decisions can I make to beat my opponent? And I feel like Third Strike is one of the best games at that. Now I want to talk about the community behind this game that's been keeping this game alive for over 20 years. Even though Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5 will come out, people are still playing Third Strike to this day. Tournaments around the world are still being held for this game every year. But what I really want to talk about is the online community that's been keeping this game alive for years later. With programs such as Fightcade, you can play hundreds of retro games online with people all around the world using rollback netcode. But by far, the biggest community on Fightcade has been Third Strike. Hundreds of people still flock to that game to play it every single day, including myself. What I really want to get across in this section of the video is that even though people who have been playing this game for years are now playing on Fightcade, if you're a new player looking to jump into the fray, there are many things there to help you, especially the people who are playing. First off, there are players of all skill levels playing on Fightcade, so don't feel like it's just a bunch of killers and that's it. Beginners, intermediate, and expert players all converge in that community, so I'm sure you won't feel left out. But if you feel like jumping into matches is just a bit too intimidating, there are still plenty of resources online that help you learn how to play the game at a competitive level with your character. From sites like Event Hubs, forums and wikis like Shoryuken. One of my favorite sources that I was using when I was learning the game was the Shoryuken character tutorials on YouTube. They were very well done with tons of information relevant to new players. I also recommend watching matches featuring your character so that you can better understand what you're supposed to do in a match. There is this amazing channel called Third Strike that has a ton of matches featuring Japanese players that can really show you what's possible in this game. They upload almost every day, so just go to the channel and scroll, you're bound to find a match featuring your character in it. And if you want to practice the moves you just learned, there's actually a training mode in Fightcade that you can use. Using the power of Lua scripting, you can set up a training mode that has all of the basics a fighting game training mode has. It even has special settings for Third Strike such as parry training. Now you finally feel ready to take on a challenge or be the challenger in Fightcade. You get in a match and you're doing pretty alright, and then your opponent blows you up for some of the mistakes you've been making. You play more matches with them and they're still blowing you up and you still don't know what to do to change that. One of the things you can do is that after the match you can watch your match footage that is conveniently given to you after every match on Fightcade. Or you can just ask the person that you're fighting what to do. One of the things that I like most about Fightcade, and it's one of the reasons why I'm talking about it so much in this video, is that the people on there is always willing to help new players get better at the game. Like I said before, there are people of all skill levels playing on Fightcade. But even if you play somebody way above your skill level, more often than not they'll be willing to help you out if you're a new player. They love new players, because the more players they have, the longer the game will be kept alive. I remember this one time I was fighting against a Urian player on Fightcade when I was just started out. Now this Urian player was way above my skill level at the time, and I kept getting blown up by his kicks. I kept getting hit by that overhead kick that all Urian players use. I just kept getting blown up by the kick. So the Urian player actually texted me using the text feature on Fightcade and told me a bunch of counter options I can use as Ken in order to beat that kick. I took that information and put it into other matches that I had in the future and actually ended up doing better because of that. See, that's one thing that I really like about the Fightcade community, that there's always people who are way better at their skill level I always wanted to help new players get better at the game. That passion and the willingness to help new players get better at the game that what keeps this game alive is one reason out of many why you should play Third Strike today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Are you gonna give Third Strike a chance after seeing this video? I really hope you do. It's such a great game. And are you excited for Street Fighter 6? I definitely am. When the game comes out, I'm definitely gonna be playing it all day, every day. Thank you so much for watching. And tune in next time for something completely different. Peace.